Social science is the investigation of human social connections and organizations. Human science's topic is differing, extending from wrongdoing to religion, from the family to the state, from the divisions of race and social class to the mutual convictions of a typical society, and from social steadiness to a radical change in entire social orders. Bringing together the investigation of these differing subjects of study is human science's motivation of seeing how human activity and awareness both shape and are formed by encompassing social and social structures. It is an energizing and lighting up field of study that breaks down and clarifies essential matters in our own lives, our groups, and the world. At the individual level, human science researches the social causes and results of such things as sentimental adoration, racial and sex personality, family struggle, degenerate conduct, maturing and religious confidence. At the societal level, human science inspects and clarifies matters like wrongdoing and law, neediness and riches, bias and segregation, schools and training, business firms, urban group and social developments. At the worldwide level, human science concentrates such marvels as populous development and movement, war and peace, and monetary improvement. Let's not waste any more time and dig in to see what we have got in here for you. What is sociology? Starting off with the most basic question always helps. I'm going to introduce you to the basics of this subject first, so that we can discuss it in details later on. We always tend to talk a lot about topics while being completely unaware of the basics of the subject. Sociology, a very complex term in itself, comprises of the scientific study of the human behaviors and the society, the interactions between the members of the society, etc. While a sociologist is conducting his research, he is going to be interested in getting to know more about the culture of a particular region, the social groups that are present in that are as well as the other organizations there, the criminology of that region, the social inequalities and other issues that are prevailing in the society. Basically, the list is never ending and it could go on, but the point was to let you know the kind of things that are a sociologist interested in knowing. You'll become more and more accustomed to the human society and its norms once you get to study this discipline in more details. The subject itself is further divided into branches that include anthropology, economics, political science and psychology, etc. I can explain the brief difference between psychology and sociology, because most people tend to confuse the two, by telling you that in psychology you study the behavioral patterns of individual beings, but when it comes to sociology, you're going to study the pattern that is followed by the whole society. We have all seen certain behavioral norms that are present only in particular geographical region or in a particular race, etc. This is exactly what we study in sociology. The origin of sociology. Like any other subject, there is a lot of dispute on how it all started, but most people agree on it that Ibn Khaldun, an Islamic scholar, was the first person ever to introduce the concept of sociology. He is known as the father of sociology because he was the one who introduced the concept of social conflict and social cohesion. He convinced people to think of these things on the basis of scientific reasoning. The word sociology itself has Greek and Latin origins. Sociology, a discipline. The University of Chicago holds the title of being the first ever university to introduce the subject of sociology formally. The introduction of this subject was important in order to study the diverse cultures that are spread all over the world. It is not important for you to understand how it all started. What is important to know is that why was it made a discipline of the universities? Why was the need felt to study this subject separately? The foundation of sociology was laid upon the basis of positivism and anti-positivism theories that we are going to elaborate later. At this point, you must be feeling really intrigued, and why shouldn't you? Don't worry. It is going to get more and more interesting You are going to enjoy the different aspects of this topic that are going to come forward. By now, you know the basic definition of the subject, at least, don't you? Well then, let's move on the next chapter and explore it for more details. Branches of Sociology. Here, in this chapter, I'm going to enumerate the branches of sociology so that you get to know more about the topics that this subject covers. Theoretical Sociology. Theoretical sociology is one of the most complex branches of sociology. We study how the relation between the social facts of the world, as well as how and why they happen in the first place. This is what we study particularly in the theoretical sociology. There is a diverse range of topics that can be studied under this branch, starting from a single process to a number of events that are related to each other, and on the basis of these, you can actually analyze and predict the future events as well. Historical Sociology. Historical sociology is basically the study of the social groups or civilizations as well as social facts. You are going to study the background of any social events that are happening in the society. You may even study how different civilizations or organizations originated. For example, you can study about the origin and lineage of Roman, Greek, etc. descent. Criminology. This particular branch of sociology is just meant to study the criminal attitude of individuals as well as groups. You get to monitor and study the behavior of these people. The main aim of this branch is to get to know the origin of the crime, as in how it even started in the first place. You also study the nature of the crime and the different types of the crime along with the causes of these crimes and the reasons that led to them. The law that is present with respect to those crimes and the punishments that are being associated with them are being studied in this one branch of sociology. The role that police is playing against these crimes and the efforts that the whole population as well as the security agencies are playing in getting rid of these crimes are being studied in this branch. Religious Sociology. There is no state in this world that is free of the influence of religion. There is always a very obvious influence of religion on the people who believe in it. In this branch, you are going to study the structural setting of a particular religion in a society and the impact that it has. With respect to the religion, you are going to study the behavior of the people living in the society and how sensitive they are regarding the religious aspects. The religious constitutions, their role and impact is also studied in this branch of sociology. The elementary forms of religious life are studied in this branch as well. Economic Sociology. Economic sociology is somewhat similar to what we study in economics, but the difference is in the perspective with which we study that. We are going to study about the production of the goods and then the distribution, consumption and exchange of goods and services in this branch. The economics activities of a particular society are also being studied, while focusing on the socio-cultural factors that influence the people of a society. All the factors that affect the members of the society with respect to the economic aspect are being studied in this topic. The role of culture in the access and distribution of goods is also being studied. For example, you can study why Hindus don't eat cow, and this will explain a lot about this aspect of the economy. Rural Sociology. Rural population plays a very major role in a country's economy and everything else also. In many countries, the rural population is higher than the urban population, and hence it is really important to pay attention to this subject. You are going to study the way of life that people have in the rural areas. There is a significant difference between the urban and rural way of life. You study the pattern of life including the traditions, norms, values, culture, behavior, belief, etc. in this branch, and you will see how they are really different from what we see in urban population. You will get to know the rural culture in more detail along the social structure that they have and the social processes that they have to go through. You also get to know about the social pressures that only the people living in rural areas have to go through. Urban sociology. Like we talked about rural sociology, there are a lot of things that are only associated with urban culture. You are going to study all of that in urban sociology. You will get a clear idea about the lifestyle in the urban culture, the social organizations present in the urban culture, as well as the interaction and the social structure are being studied in this branch. The problems that are present in the urban life, including robbery, crimes, corruption, environmental pollution, prostitution, as well as unemployment, are also being studied here under this branch. Political sociology. As the name indicates, this branch refers to the political history as well as the ongoing political events of a society. You're going to study about the different political ideologies, along with how they originated, their development and the function that they have. The method for studying this subject is that you take different parties and you consider them as separate institutions, and then you conduct your research on them. These parties are a part of the social system that is present in a particular place, and so they are studied in detail along with the activities and behaviour of the various parties present. Sociology of law. The law is very important for a society because it plays a very major role in formulating the rules and regulations that a society has to follow. This is a very complex branch as it is linked with a lot of different aspects of the society, including the economic conditions, as well as the literacy rate present in a society, etc. The law is one of those factors that lay the basis of a society, and hence it can play a very major role. This is why this particular subject needs a lot of attention. Industrial sociology. Industries have a very major impact on the economic conditions of a country, and so in this branch we are going to study the relation between different industrial organizations and institutions. The relationship between industries and different organizations is also being studied in this branch. Sociology of demography. Demography is the study of population. In this branch of sociology, we study the size, density, situation, composition, distribution, measurement, etc. Detailed analysis of human population is being done. The factors that influence the changing trends in a population are being studied in this particular branch. Precisely. These are all the branches of sociology that are present. I wanted you to know the details of all the possible aspects that this subject covers, so that you get to know the diversity that it offers. As I assured you in the beginning, this topic is going to get more and more interesting as you read on. Let's move on to the next important thing that needs to be discussed. 3 major perspectives in sociology. Now, after getting to know about the branches of sociology, the next important thing is to get to know about the 3 basic perspectives of sociology. These 3 perspectives form the basis of sociology, and so we are going to discuss the foundation in detail. These 3 perspectives are: interactionist perspective. Interactionist perspective, also known as the symbolic interactionism, aims at focusing on the details and symbols that are present in the daily life. The meaning of these symbols is also studied in this perspective in great deals. You also get to study the interactions among people in detail in this perspective. The way people interact with each other is being scrutinized in detail with respect to this theory. Origin of this perspective. The origin of this perspective dates back to 1920s, when an American philosopher known as George H. Mead introduced this concept to sociology. The basic idea behind this concept was that people reach to different situations according to their own interpretation of the meaning of the world. Don't get baffled by this statement, because we are going to explain it in greater detail in the coming paragraphs. Meaning of this perspective. The basic meaning of this perspective is that people associate certain meanings to different symbols, and then they act to situations according to their subjective understanding of those symbols. This is the reason why verbal conversation hold more significance, because words that are spoken hold a certain meaning, and it is easier to interpret that meaning. This is exactly what this perspective focuses on. It focuses on taking meanings out of the different symbols based on what people think of those symbols and what they interpret from them. You will be surprised to see how different the interpretations can be for the very same thing that two people are looking at. For example, if we are looking at an expensive designer bag, one person might think of it as the epitome of classiness and all, but the other person might think of the same thing as just a stupid accessory that people shouldn't waste so much money on. This is what we are talking about when we say that there are different interpretations of one symbol and that everyone perceives things according to their own opinion. Next up is the second perspective that is present in sociology, which is equally important. The functionalist perspective. The functionalist perspective, also called as functionalism, focuses majorly on the events that occur in a society. What does it say? According to this perspective, everything that happens in a society is interlinked and will have an obvious impact on the overall functionality of the society. This can be elaborated with the example that the government is responsible for providing education to the children of a family, and the family in return pays taxes to the government, which it depends upon for its functioning. This basically shows how everything is interdependent in the society. The family is dependent upon the government for the good education of their children, so that these children grow up to be educated individuals and earn good money. These educated individuals are eventually going to help the state by becoming law-abiding citizens that pay their taxes on time, etc. If the system keeps on going like this, the country is going to move towards prosperity and success, and if it doesn't go as planned, then there needs to be some change of plans that can make the outcome get better. Let's take the example of a social recession for this matter. Schools start to offer fewer courses during this time, and families make sure that they cut out their extra expenses because the point is to adapt accordingly. This is what we are trying to explain to you here, that how anything that happens in a society affects everything, and so all the individuals learn to adapt to it. The point that a functionalist put forward is that a society works well when things are done in collaboration. When people anonymously agree to something and then work towards achieving particular goals, only then can a society function properly. This is exactly what this approach means. There are two kinds of agreements or solidarities that people living in a society can show. That include mechanical cohesion. Mechanical cohesion is when people living in the society agree upon similar goals, values and beliefs, and then they get busy in similar kinds of work. This kind of solidarity primarily occurs in simpler and smaller societies where everyone just tries to work on the same thing. For example, there is a large group of people and all of them work in an industry. Then all of them are going to try to give their best to this industry and do their respective jobs with a lot of devotion so that they can achieve the targets that they have set. Organic cohesion. This kind of cohesion occurs when people living in a society are dependent on each other for various things, but all of them have their own set of values and beliefs, and all of them are busy in different types of work. Primarily, they are all doing their own respective jobs, but at the end of the day, they are all dependent upon each other. This is seen in more complex urban settings where there are different roles that a human being can play and different tasks that they have to fulfill. Major contribution. For this functionalist approach, the most important contribution has been given by the American sociologist Robert Merton, according to whom human functions can be divided into two. Those are: manifest functions are the ones that you do on purpose and intentionally and are quite obvious. Latent functions, on the other hand, are the ones that are unintentional and you don't even realize while doing those things. They aren't even that obvious for you to notice. Like any other thing that is being introduced, there are good and bad sides to this perspective as well. And hence, there are people who support this perspective, and then there are those who are completely against it. The ones that are against it have their own point of views, but mostly what they say is that this doesn't let the society grow and change for good. Anyhow, let's move on to the third and the last perspective that we have regarding sociology, and I'm sure you are going to find that really interesting as well. The conflict perspective. This is the perspective that is nothing like the other two that you have studied earlier. The things that you have read in the previous two perspectives were looked upon from a very different angle, while this perspective highlights a very different aspect of the society. First, I would like to tell you the difference between the above two perspectives and this one, so that you know where the difference lies. What is the difference? The difference lies in the fact that these other two perspectives primarily focus upon the positive aspects of the society, as in the things that can make a society better and can make it more stable. The conflict perspective focuses on something else. It talks about the negative side of the society, the side that is full of conflicts. In the functionalist approach, we are being told that people work together to make the society better and the society doesn't change, etc. In the conflict perspective, we give more of a reality check to people. We focus on the fact that the society changes and that powerful and resourceful people always have an upper hand in the society, and they force the social order onto the weak and poor people in the society. A lot of debate has been done on whether or not this perspective carries any importance or not. Initially, it wasn't given much importance in comparison to the important functionalist perspective, but in the 1960s, the sociologists were really keen to dig more into the details of the conflict perspective. They found this rather interesting, that how a society's negativity can lead to the trends set there. Main conflict. According to Marx, the most important conflict in the society is always economic. This was believed initially. Today, most of the conflict theorists believe that the conflict can be of any type, be it religious, economic, racial, political or gender-based, etc. The point to be noted is that the groups that have a certain conflict among them, they keep on fighting over it and keep competing against each other. This is exactly how the society and its nature keeps on changing from time to time. There are a lot of critics from this perspective as well, who believe that this perspective only talks about the negativity prevailing in the society and does not at all take into account any goodness that is present in the society. It doesn't even give any credit to the goodness that can play a really important role in suppressing the negativity in the society. In a nutshell, these are the three major perspectives that are present in sociology. We have explained them in great details, and I am sure that you enjoyed reading all these interesting points of views that came across. You must be really excited to know more about the impact that this subject has on the overall functioning of the society, and so we are going to discuss all of that as well. Let's move on with that, shall we? Different aspects of sociology. Here, in this chapter, we are going to discuss the various aspects of sociology with respect to what we study in them and what details we consider. Let's have a look at all of them one by one. Culture. First of all, it is important to understand the basic difference between the sociology of culture and cultural sociology. Yes, both the terms do seem somewhat similar, but there is a little bit of difference between the two. I'm going to explain it to you in detail with examples so that you can get a better understanding. Cultural sociology considers everything that happens in the society as cultural. According to cultural sociology, culture is basically a potential outcome of the different social phenomena. In simple terms, you can say that it concludes culture as the end product of the social phenomena and refers to them like that. Sociology of culture, on the other hand, doesn't attribute everything as cultural and has a different approach towards it. According to the beliefs of the sociology of cultures, social processes lead to the cultural phenomena. This is the primary difference between the two that lays the basis for the change of opinions. This is exactly what we study in this branch of sociology, and it actually gets quite interesting considering the fact that there are two different approaches that we can use to have an explanation to the various social events that happen around us. Law, criminality, and punishment. In this particular branch, the job of the criminologist is to first analyze the nature of the crime, all the statistics associated with it, and then move on to further details. He is going to pay attention to the cause of the crime and the aggravating factors for it as well. He has to look for the control of this criminal activity as well, while taking help from the disciplines of psychology and behavioral sciences as well. Law, being one of the most influential and obvious signs of solidarity in a society, carries a lot of importance. While studying sociology of law, you are also going to pay attention to the impact of law on the overall functioning of the society and how certain things may be helpful for the society while others may be bad for it. You are also supposed to monitor the amendments that need to be made to the existing laws for the better functioning of the society. All of this has a great impact on the society and can be really helpful for the betterment of it. Music, art, and literature. This is basically a sub-branch of the sociology of culture. Art is a really impactful medium, which is why there is a separate branch for it. We get to study the social implications of the artistic objects here. We can explain the reason behind this to you with an example. Let's say that there is a certain kind of literature that is being produced in a certain region, or a certain kind of plays that are being made. The people living there are obviously going to get at least some influence, and it will have at least some impact on the people for sure. This right here is why it is so essential to monitor these things and see what music or art is being produced in a particular society, and then see the impact that it has on the people living there. Why do you think all the singers start singing motivational songs when a cricket or a football World Cup is near? People take a lot of influence from these art forms, and so we need to make sure that the right message is being sent to people through these mediums. Economics. This is one of the most important branches that was coined to analyze the economic data of a society. Like I explained earlier, one of the essential conflicts that prevail in the society is the economic conflict, and so it needs to be addressed. According to the specialists, economic relations take place between the pre-existing relations between the firms and individuals. This is the reason why a lot of research has been put into this topic alone, and studies are still being conducted. Different aspects of the economic needs of a society are being considered, and then rules and regulations are formulated accordingly. Work and employment. There is absolutely nothing very surprising in the fact that employment rate and working opportunities decide a lot about the conditions prevailing in a society. There is absolutely nothing difficult in understanding the impact that unemployment would have on a society, and similarly, good work-related options are obviously going to have a really different impact as well. This is what we study in this particular branch. We tend to think of bringing new and better options that can provide us with better outcomes as well. That is exactly what keeps a society prosperous. Environment. Nothing is going to go well if we don't take adequate care of our environment. Hence, there is a separate section that is just meant to establish the impact that different things have on our society and what measures we can take in order to make conditions get better for us. We also study the environmental problems with respect to the human dimensions and the steps that we can take to make things get better. We have to keep researching and come up with better ideas to fix the environment in the best possible ways. Health and illness. There is again a difference in the two terms here. There is the sociology of health and fitness that basically focuses upon social effects and the attitude of people towards ailments, disabilities, mental health issues, etc. This is completely different from medical sociology that focuses on the medical organizations and everything related to them. Clinical institutions, as well as other medical organizations, are the primary target in this subject, and the measures that should be taken to make these better are being studied here. Both these branches are important in their way and have a different impact on the society. Peace, war, and conflict. This is again a really important branch of sociology that pays attention to the aspects of society that are related to peace and war. In the sub-branches of this subject, more specific things are being targeted and taken care of. We try to make sure that the military setup is satisfactory and everything else is taken care of as well. Studies are being conducted in which we see the things that are giving rise to war, and how we can avoid those conflicts is also being discussed. We get to see these reasons and promote activities that can bring peace to a certain geographical region. The impact of refugee movements, etc., is also being discussed in this branch, as that is a really important topic in today's world. Precisely. We can say that sociology is a really broad topic, and it can be further subdivided into many small branches that can help us in discussing it in further details. We shall be able to study every aspect of the society, provided that we pay attention to the simple things that make up a society and then take measures to improve things to the maximum possible extent. It is not just these simple branches or subjects that we study here. There is a large number of the simpler sub-branches that are being discussed as well. Finally, in the last chapter, we are going to discuss the impact that sociology has on our daily life. Considering it as a broad subject, there is a lot of advantage that we got from this subject, and that is exactly what we are going to discuss here in the next chapter. Impact of sociology in daily life. Sociology is a really diverse subject, and studying it has a lot of uses and can be really helpful for us to understand a lot of things. Sociology provides us with the knowledge to understand the basic needs of a society, and we get to know the details of everything related to the society, and we develop a better understanding towards everything. It also enhances our comprehension of society and expands the force of social activity. Information of society, social gatherings, social organizations, and so on helps us to lead a successful social life. Human science tosses all the more light on the social way of man. It digs profound into the social way of man. It analyzes the relationship amongst individual and society, the effect of society on man, and different matters. The investigation of sociology helps us to know our general public and men, as well as others, their thought, processes, goals, status, occupations, conventions, traditions, establishments, society, and so on. In an enormous industrialized society, there are a lot of encounters, and the commitment of humanism is not less huge in improving society. Humanism has offered to prepare to us to have a normal way to deal with inquiries concerning ourselves, our religion, traditions, mores, establishments, values, belief systems, and so on. It has made us end up more target, basic, and impartial. Another part of the pragmatic side of human science is the investigation of awesome social establishments and the relations of people of every one of them. Sociology is valuable as a showing subject as well. It is a calling in which specialized skill brings its own prizes. Sociologists, particularly those prepared in examination system, are in expanding request in business, government, industry, correspondences, social welfare, and so forth, and numerous different regions of group life. The requirement for the investigation of human science is more prominent, particularly in immature nations. Sociologists have now drawn the consideration of financial specialists with respect to the social variables that have added to the monetary backwardness of a couple of nations. Financial experts have now understood the significance of sociological learning in dissecting the monetary undertakings of a nation. The investigation of society is a fundamental significance in taking care of social issues. The present world is best with a few social issues of awesome size like destitution, beggary, unemployment, prostitution, overpopulace, racial issues, wrongdoing, liquor abuse, untouchable, and so on. A cautious investigation of these issues is vital, keeping in mind the end goal to tackle them. Sociological learning is essential for comprehension and arranging of society. Social arranging has been made less demanding by humanism. Humanism is regularly viewed as a vehicle of social change and social revamping. It assumes a vital part in the remaking of society. The handy utility of sociological procedures, the methods created by the sociologists and other social researchers are embraced by others. The social study was produced and utilized predominantly by sociologists and statisticians, and it has turned into a fundamental instrument of statistical surveying and political surveying. Sociologists give a lot of data that is useful in settling on choices on social strategy. Investigation of society has helped a few governments to advance the welfare of the tribal individuals. The cultivated social orders, as well as even the tribal social orders, are confronted with a few financial and social issues. Endeavours are currently being made to treat the tribal no standard with whatever is left of the cultivated individuals. The human science of incredibly viable help in the sense it stays up with the latest on present-day social circumstances and advancements. Social science has been significantly capable of changing our states of mind towards kindred people. It has inhabited to Catholic in outlook and progressive in the soul. It has minimized the mental separation and diminished the crevice between various people groups and groups.